So we begin the Gemara today on the bottom of Samach Beis Amud Beis, 4 lines from the bottom of the page where it says Rabbi Akiva. So the Gemara was discussing all kinds of different cases, Tanoim, Amiroim, that left for yeshiva for a long period of time. And we saw in the Gemara before, many of them, they would leave 12 years at a time. That was a number of years that they would go to learn Torah. So here's the famous story of Rabbi Akiva that went to learn Torah also for 12 years. Sagt the Gemara, Rabbi Akiva, Rayed ben Kalba Savua Hava. Rabbi Akiva was the shepherd of Kalba Savua, which was a very wealthy individual. Chazise Brate, Kalba Savua's daughter saw him, that he had very good midas. He was a tsanua, he was maili, so he was on a very high level. He did not learn Torah at that point in his life yet, but nevertheless, she saw his character, that he's a special person. So she said to Rabbi Akiva, if I get married to you, Ozlis lebeirav, are you going to go to learn Torah? Allah, he said to her, yes, I agree. Igdish alei b'tzina, she married him quietly, v'shadarte, and she sent him off to go learn Torah. Shama Avua, her father got wind of this, her father found out, Afka mi beisa, he expelled her from the house, Adra no, he made a vow that she could have no benefit of his properties, menichse. So what happened? Rabbi Akiva went, Ozel, Yosef, he went and sat and learned Torah. Today, Sarishnin, B'veirav, 12 years in the yeshiva. There's the Pirkei de Rabbi Elazar that adds to the story, the famous detail that on his way going to yeshiva, he sat and he saw this water dripping on a rock, and it made a hole in the rock, and he said to himself, if the water dripping in the same place could make this hole here, for sure in my heart, I didn't learn Torah. He was 40 years old at that point, definitely the Torah will penetrate his heart. Ki asa, after 12 years, Rabbi Akiva comes back home. I see Ba'adei, he comes along with him today, Sari Alfi Talmidi, with 12,000 students. Shamei Lahu Saba. So he overheard, as he comes to his house, he overhears this older man, the Ka'amala, that's telling his wife, At kama kamadberis almanas chayim. How long are you going to live your life like an almana, and like a living almana, meaning your husband is alive, but he left you. You live alone. How long are you going to have to live this way? And he saw Rabbi Akiva was overhearing this conversation. Amr Alei, his wife says back to this person, if my husband would listen to me, Yosef Treshani Achrini, he would remain there and learn another 12 years Torah. So what happened? Omar Rabbi Akiva said, if so, Birishuska Avidna. What I'm doing is with her permission. She's happy for me to go back to learn Torah. Hada Ozol v'Yosef Trei Sari Shni Achrine b'Veirav. He went and learned, that is, another 12 years Torah by the yeshiva by his Rebbe. Okay, so there's a famous diak that the Welt says on this piece of Gemara. It doesn't say that he knocked on the door and came in and said hello to his wife and then went to learn Torah another 12 years. He's standing right outside the door, close enough to overhear the conversation of his wife with this individual. At least knock on the door and say hello and then go back to learn Torah. He didn't do that. He immediately turned around and went to learn Torah 12 years. Why? Mikan Raya, to go and learn Torah 12 years and then another 12 years is not the same as learning straight 24 years without an interruption. He wanted to go and learn Torah without any interruption whatsoever, 24 years. Okay, what happened? Ki asa, finally after the next 12 years, he came back. Aisi Badei came along with Esrim va'arba alfi talmidi, came with 24,000 students. Shalme de Bisu, his wife heard that he's arriving home. Have a kanafgala pay, she went out towards him. Amrullah, Shivavasa, her friends, her neighbors told her, She'ili money, go borrow some kind of a nice garment, lavush, and dress yourself, chasoy, and then cover yourself. You should look nice to go and greet your husband. Amra lahu, she says to them, Yedeya tzadik nefesh behemte. The tzadik knows the soul of the behemoth, meaning the fact that I was suffering here for the past 24 years, he's aware of it, and I accepted it willingly, happily. I don't have to go and make up some kind of a show for him and show something that's not true. Kimata legabe, when she came to him, nafla alapa, she fell on her face, and komenashkele lekaren, she was kissing his feet. Have a kamitchvila shame. So those people, the Shamashim, the Gabayim of Rabbi Akiva, were pushing away. Who's this woman coming here and falling to his feet? Amalahu, Rabbi Akiva said, Shafkua, leave her, Shalib, Shalachem, Shalahu. My Torah that you learned, that I learned, and the Torah that you learned is all hers. It's all her schus. Not it's she allowed him. Not only she allowed him to go, she's the one that initiated this whole thing to marry him and to send him off to learn Torah. Shama Avua, her father, Kalbus Avua, heard the Asa Gavre Rabba Lamasa, that a great person, big Talmid Chacham, arrived to the city. So Amar, so he said to himself, Ezel Gabe, let me go to this great person. Efshe the Meifenedrai, maybe you could nullify my vow that I made not to have my daughter can't have any benefit from me. So he had no idea that this is his son-in-law, but he wanted to nullify the vow he made. Also, he came to Rabbi Kiva, Amalei, so Rabbi Kiva tells him as follows: Adaita the Gavre Rabba, mi nadres. Did you make a condition that your daughter can't have any benefit because she went and got married to this shepherd, the simple shepherd? Did you make such a neder, thinking that this person might be someone great? Amalei, so he answers, Afila perik echad, afila halacha achas. Even if he just knows one perik to learn, or even just one halacha, I'd be satisfied. I didn't mean to make the neder in such a way. Amalei, so now Rabbi Kiva told him, Anahu, this is me. I am your son-in-law. Nafal al ape, so he fell on his face, v'noshke al kare, and he kissed him on his feet, v'yav le'palgem emayna, and he gave him half of his possessions. And so Taisus points out that this is an unusual thing, that Rabbi Kiva himself was giving him ways how to nullify the neder. Usually you're not supposed to do this. When someone comes to nullify a neder, the person himself has to say, well, I didn't mean to make the neder in this way or in that way, but the Talmid Chacham himself is not supposed to give openings to be mevatel the neder. Okay, so Taisus discusses. If you look in Taisus. Vaita the Gemara says, yeah, of course. Look what he got afterwards. Brate de Rabbi Kiva, the Gemara concludes the story that the daughter of Rabbi Kiva, of the Leila Ben Azai Hachi, made the same deal, did the same thing with Ben Azai. That she allowed Ben Azai to go learn Torah for 12 years. And v'hained amri inshi. So this is what people say, that the daughter acted like the mother. Rechela bas rechela, a sheep follows the sheep. This acts the same way. Ozla goes together. Ka'oivde ima, ka'oivde brata. Like the deeds of the mother, so are the deeds of the daughter. This is the story of Rabbi Kiva. So there's many, many lessons you can learn from the story, but obviously the biggest lesson of the story is Rabbi Kiva's wife, Kalbus, the daughter of Kalbus, what she did, that it was all her that brought Rabbi Kiva. And the Gemara says that the whole Torah that we have today is all in the schus of Rabbi Kiva, because Rabbi Kiva is the one that brought back Torah to the Yidden and so on. So it's all in her schus of one Jewish woman here. Sagt the Gemara weiter, Rav Yosef berei der Rava. Shadrei Avua, so Rav Yosef, the son of Rava, his father sent him lebeirav to go learn Torah lekamei de Rav Yosef, by Rav Yosef. Paskele, they made up that how long is he going to learn Torah? Shishni, for 6 years. Kihavet tlas shni, when it was after 3 years, now he was married already, his son. He went, as you see here in the Gemara again and again, even after they were married, they would still go back to yeshiva to learn Torah. So he sent his son after he was married to go learn Torah for 6 years. After 3 years, so it came out of Yom Kippur. Omar, so Rav Yosef says to himself, let me go back home to see the people of my home. He wanted to go back home. Shomavui, his father Rav, heard that his son Rav Yosef is coming back home before the time they had made up. They're staying in yeshiva for 6 years. Shakal mana v'nafak lapei. He took a mana. Rashi says he took weapons and he went out to him to show that like he's upset at him. Why are you coming home when we made up you shouldn't be coming home? So Rashi says ki'ilu bali alachem. It's like he came out to show like he's upset that his son is coming home earlier than he's supposed to. Amalei, he says to his son, Zainascha, or the other gear say in the Gemara is Zugascha Niskarta. You remembered about your wife. You're middle of learning Torah. You're supposed to be immersed in your learning and not thinking about anything else. You remembered about your wife. Ikadamri, others say, he said to him differently, Amalei Nascha Niskarta. You remembered about Yaina. Yaina is an expression that you have in the pasuk, like pigeons that look at one another, the husband and wife. You remembered about your wife. So why did you come home? Itred. Second. Itred, so they both over here got so involved in this argument. The father and son were arguing about this. Should I have came home? Should I not have came home? And what happened? This was Erev Yom Kippur. Loi mar ifsik, v'loi mar ifsik. Not the father Rava and not the son of Yosef ate the Suda Mafsekes before the fast. They didn't get a chance to eat before they knew it. The fast began. They were so involved in this discussion. Should I have came home? Should I have not came home? Okay. Zakt Heilige Mishnah. Going back to the halachas, the obligations of a husband to a wife, the wife to the husband. Hamiredes al-baila. If you have a wife that is rebelling against her husband, and the Gemara will discuss exactly what the rebellion consists of. So what happens now? Peiches in law miksubasa shiva dinrim b'Shabbos. So she has the amount of ksuba that she gets, whether it's 200 zuz, whether 100 zuz. So after a week time, when she's still rebelling against her husband, we take away from the ksuba 7 dinrim. For every week that she's still continuing to rebel, we take away 7 dinrim from her ksuba. Rabbi Yehuda says a different amount. Shiva tar peikin. We take away 7 tar peikin, which will be explained in the Gemara, exactly what these amounts are. Now, how long does this go on? How long do we allow a woman to rebel against her husband when we say, okay, the husband has a right to divorce her and doesn't have to give her even a ksuba? Ad masai upaychis. So how much does the husband minimize from the amount of the ksuba that he has to pay? At keneget ksubasa. Until the amount of the ksuba, you keep on minimizing until there's nothing left of the amount of the ksuba that he owes her, and then he can divorce her without giving her a ksuba. And that's it. But Rashi explains, according to the Tanakhama, there are other monies that there are here besides the actual ksuba payment. That could be money that she brought in from the dowry. She brought in money from her father, all kinds of things. From that we don't minimize. That we don't touch. Another opinion, Rabbi Yosi says, you always continue minimizing from the money that he owes her. So much so, that if she gets some kind of Yerusha from somewhere, she has some place that she yarshins money or properties from, that he also collects that, he also takes that away from her as long as she's rebelling against her. So this is the halacha regarding a wife that's rebelling against the husband. Similar, a person, a man, the husband is rebelling against his wife. So for every week that he continues to rebel against her, we add to the amount that he owes her for the ksuba, shloisha dinrim b'Shabbos, 3 dinrim for every Shabbos. So this is a different amount, which we'll also see in the Gemara why this amount over here. Why from the wife we minimize more. We minimize 7 dinrim every week. The husband only has to add 3 dinrim. We'll see in the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda says it's shloisha tarpeikin, that it's the amount is 3 tarpeikin that he has to add to the ksuba for every week that he's rebelling against his wife. Talk to Gemara. What exactly is the rebellion of the wife against the husband? Ravuna says mitash meshamita. She does not want to have any marital relations with him. Rabbi Chanina says mimalacha. There are different kinds of works that we had before in the Mishnah that the wife has to do for the husband, and she does not want to do any of this work. Says the Gemara Tanan. So let's see, based on the words of the Mishnah, maybe we could understand what it is. The Mishnah said, the Mishnah speaks about the wife rebelling against the husband and the husband rebelling against the wife. Says the Gemara, the opinion that says that she's rebelling against him, she doesn't want to have any relations with him, so then that makes sense. We could say what the Mishnah is saying, it goes both ways. Either she doesn't want to live with him or he doesn't want to live with her. So that's what the Mishnah is speaking about. But the Mishnah, the opinion that says that the Mishnah is speaking about the wife rebelling against the husband, that she doesn't want to work for him. So, how does the Mishnah then continue to say that the husband rebelled against the wife, as if we're speaking about the same subject here, that the husband is not working for the wife? A husband doesn't have to work for the wife. There's the malachas that she does, the housework that she does for him, but he doesn't do any housework for her. And says the Gemara, no, even if you say it's malacha, there is something corresponding to that she has to do. Yes, but Omer, if the husband says to her, Eini zon ve'eini mefarnes, I'm not going to give you your food, I'm not going to give you clothing, I'm not going to take care of you. So that's what the Mishnah meant. According to this opinion, she's rebelling against him, she's not doing any housework for him, and he rebels against her, that he's not going to do the support her, food and so on. So Rashi's pshat over here is, because we learned before that what it's an exchange for. The fact that she does the housework for him, in exchange for this, he has to feed her. So he's not doing what he's supposed to do in exchange. Taisva says that from here, Rabbeinu Eliyahu brought a raya that when it says zonu mefarnes, that a person has to support his wife, it means that a person has to work, b'poil, he has to have a job. If Taisva says from here we see that a person should hire himself to teach children or to do any other work, because she has to do the housework and he has to do other work in order to have an income to feed his wife. So the Gemara says, but v'ha'amar Rav, didn't we learn before? Rav said, ha'ayim, a man that says, eini zon ve'eini mefarnes, yaitzi v'yitin ksuba. that if he doesn't want to support his wife, so right away he has to go and divorce her and he has to give her the ksubah. In our Mishnah it said different, that we're going to add to the number of money, of the amount of money that he has to pay in the ksubah. It doesn't say that he has to divorce her immediately. So how can we say that our Mishnah means to say that he says he's not supporting her? And it says the Gemara, it's not a contradiction. Rav did not mean to say that he has to mamish immediately divorce her. Boy, don't we have to discuss the matter with him when a husband says, I'm not going to support my wife? We're not going to just come to him and say immediately, divorce your wife right away today. We're going to discuss it with him. We're going to ask him, what are you doing about this? Maybe you should support your wife. So this discussion will take a certain number of days or weeks. And that's what our Mishnah said, that over that period of time, when we're trying to convince him, if he's not actually supporting his wife, we're going to add to the payment of the ksubah another 3 dinner for every single week, according to the Tanakama. But the Gemara now brings another ayah from a Braisa. Again, we're discussing over here, what is the merida of the wife? Is she being mated regarding tashmish hamita, or is she being mated regarding malacha? So Meis, the Gemara asks, it says in a Braisa, achas li arusa onusua. This halacha here of a wife rebelling against the husband, it's the same if she's an arusa, not fully married, nesua, fully married, vafila nida. And even if she's a nida, vafila chayle, even if she's not well, vafila shemeres yavam, even if she's just a shemeres yavam, she's waiting to get married to her yavam, all these halachas of merida apply. So the Gemara asks, so this is in parentheses, but this is one version here in the Gemara, the opinion that says that what's her rebellion? That she's not going to work shaper. So we can understand what it says over here. That even though she's a nida, but still she's being mated, she doesn't want to work. If the point over here is that it says that she's being mated, that she doesn't want to have any marital relations with him, but nida bas tashmishi. So then how can the Braisa say that even if she's a nida, but still if she's mated, then we have to take away from her ksubah, but she can't have any relations with him, at this point at least. On malach, so the Gemara answers, that's not a question, because we had this svara before already. Even though at this point she can't have any relations with him, but the fact that she's saying, I don't want to have anything to do with you, I don't want to have any relations with you, so he doesn't have the available in his mind that his wife would want to be with him, so therefore it's not the same kind of relation. Another version of what the question was asked from this Braisa that we just quoted was punkt verkehrt. According to the opinion that says that the wife is rebelling, she doesn't want to have any relations with him. So we can understand why it says that she's not well, but she's still able to have relations with him. So therefore, if she says she doesn't, so then she's rebelling. But the opinion that says that she's rebelling, that she doesn't want to do any work, if she's sick, so she can't work. So why would we say that that's considered to be a rebellion, that she loses money from her ksubah? So this Gemara considers to be a good question, and the Gemara says, so you're right. Ella mitashmish kula amale pligi dahavi meredes. Nobody will disagree that if she says she doesn't want to have any relations with him, that is considered to be a merida. That's a rebellion where we're going to take away money from her ksubah. There's no argument about that. Kipligi, the argument here is mimalacha. If she's rebelling that she doesn't want to do the housework, is that also considered to be a rebellion? Marsava, the first opinion is mimalacha lehavi meredes. When it comes to work, if she doesn't want to do the work, for that, she's not considered to be a wife that's rebelling against her husband. And the other opinion is that both, whether she doesn't want to have marital relations, whether she doesn't want to do work, either way, she's considered to be a meredes. So Taisus over here brings before the reason of the opinion that says that if she doesn't want to do housework, she's not considered to be a meredes, is based on the Gemara that we once learned before here, not long ago, that a wife is allowed to say, I'm not doing any work for you. You don't have to feed me, but I'm not interested in doing any work for you. So if she's refusing to do housework, she's not considered to be a meredes.
But she's sick. She can't do the malacha.
And that Braisa is not talking about malacha. That Braisa is only talking about a meredes of tashmish hamita. And regarding tashmish hamita, the Braisa is saying that even if she's sick, she's considered to be a meredes. But that Braisa, but regarding the Mishnah, our Mishnah is talking both. According to this mandam, it's talking Saya about Tashmish Shemitah and Saya about Malacha.
Something like she's a nidr, she says she doesn't want Tashmish.
Yeah. There's a Taisus about that. Taisus says the Chayre. Okay, you can look in Taisus.
She has a reason.
Taisus says that even if she's a Chayla.
Same thing, is it?
Okay.
Well, she's a nidr. What do you want from her?
Okay, let's go weiter. Sagt die Gemara Gufa. This Braisa we just quoted, we only quoted half of the Braisa. Here the Gemara quotes the full Braisa. Hamiredes al Baila, a woman that's rebelling against her husband. So, Peichen Salam Kesubos, we minimize from her Kesubah, Shiva Dinim b'Shabbos, 7 dinim for each week. Rabbi Yudai Shiva Tapeikin. You take away 7 Tapeikin from her. That was the same as we had in our Mishnah. But now the Gemara brings in this Braisa has another opinion here. Rabbi Seinu Chazr v'Nimnu. Our rabbis took account again regarding this question, and they came to a different conclusion. And that is, Sheyu Machrizin Aleo, that they make an announcement about her, Arba Shabbosis, 4 Shabbosis, Zua Chazu, one after the other. They announce in the shul that this is a wife that's rebelling against her husband. And V'sholchen la Bezdin, and they send a shliach from the Bezdin to let her know, Havi Yadas, you should know, Shafiluk Subasech Meya Mana, even if you have a Ksubah that you would get 100 Mana, Hifsadata, you're going to lose this Ksubah. So in other words, according to this opinion of Rabbi Seinu, we're not going to take away a certain amount of money 1 week, each week at a time, a certain amount of money. They're going to announce, they're going to give her 4 weeks, and they're going to announce that they're taking away her ksubah. And after 4 weeks, if she doesn't accept it, then the husband could divorce her and not give her any ksubah. Another brasa concludes, like we quoted before, achas liarusa and nesua, whether she's an arusa, whether nesua, fila nida, fila chayla, fila shemeres yavam. Either way, this applies. She falls into this category of being a meredes, a rebellion against her husband. Amalei Rab Chiya bar Yosef l'Shmuel. So Rab Chiya bar Yosef says to Shmuel, like we discussed before, nida bas tashmishi. If this brayso is discussing a nida, so why, if she doesn't want to have relations with her husband, why is this considered to be a rebellion? Amalei. So the Gemara answers, as we said, because she's saying, I don't have any relations with you, even when he can't. But it's not the same if he knows that she's not interested at all. So he doesn't have it available for him b'chlal. Amar Rami Bachame. So Rami Bachame said about this opinion in the Braisa, the Rabbi Seinu in the Braisa, that they make this announcement. This announcement is not made. We're only in the shul. They make the announcement about this wife that it should be known that she's rebelling against her husband, and she's going to be divorced and lose her ksubah if she doesn't shape up. How do we know that we only make this announcement in the shul? They kanami, because what was the expression of the Braisa? The Ktani, it says, Arba Shabbosais Zua Chazu. Shabbosais in this Braisa refers to Shabbos. On Shabbos, when everybody's in shul. Even though many times in Gemara, when it says the term Shabbosais, even in the Mishnah before it said Shabbos, it refers to the whole week, not just Shabbos. But over here, if it would have meant Arba Shabbosais as in all days of the week, it would have just said 30 days. But when it says Arba Shabbosais, it means the Shabbosais, that's where they make the announcement. Shram, so that's the Raya. Amar Rami Bachame explained another detail of what this opinion Rabbi Seinu said. Pamayim shochan lami Bezdin. Bezdin send a shliach to her to warn her twice. Achas kaidem achraza. Once they give her a chance before they publicize this matter. Bezdin sends her a shliach to warn her. V'achas lach achraza. Then once at the end, after the 4 Shabbosim, when they announce that she's going to get divorced, so they send again a shliach to her to warn her. And then if she still doesn't change her behavior, so then the husband could divorce her without giving her a ksubah. We paskin like this opinion of Rabbi Seinu. We don't slowly minimize the money of her ksubah week after week, but we just make these announcements, and if she doesn't change, she gets divorced without getting any ksubah. Omar Rava said regarding this psak halacha, hi burche. This is not true. We don't paskin like Rabbi Seinu. It's in other words, look, the Rashi says Davasheina Hagen. It looks like that what Rava was saying over here is that you have to give her a chance. It makes more sense. We should pass like the other opinion slowly. We slowly take away the money of the ksubah from her, but we're not going to all at once say at the end that she gets no ksubah. Rav Nachman by Yitzchak said, "My burchase." Why are you saying that what he paskined here is not appropriate? That it's not true? I'm the source. I'm the one that told Rav Nachman by Rav Chisda that we paskin this way. And I told them in the name of a great person. Umano, who is this? Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina. Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina said that we pass in this way. V'iyu kaman sava. Rava that disagreed. Who does he hold like? Kihadit me Rava Rav Sheshes. Rava taught in the name of Rav Sheshes. Halacha, that the halacha is like we learned in the Mishnah. Nimlachim ba, that we consult with her, meaning we deal with her. Week after week. Slowly, we tell her, we try to convince her, and every week she gets sort of a little penalty that the 7 dinner from the ksubah that's taken away. So he said in the name of Rav Sheshes as well, but he said also, halacha einim lochem ba. that we're not going to consult with her. We're going to do like the other opinion that after 4 Einim Lachem, but we don't consult with her. We're going to just take away the Kesubah from her at the end. We make an announcement, and if she's not going to listen after 4 weeks, we're going to take away her Kesubah. So now the Gemara explains another detail regarding this wife that rebels. Hey Chidomi Meiredis. What is the case over here with this woman that's rebelling against her husband? As we see over here, we're talking to her. We're trying to convince her not to be mated. What is she saying? Why is she being mated against her husband? Amar Ameime says, the Amra, she says, B'inalei, I want to be married to this man, but in Mitzarnalei, I want to give him some pain. I want to get him back. That's what she's saying. Aval Amra Moisalai. But if she comes and says, this man is disgusting for me, I'm not interested at all in being married to me, married to him, that is. So then, like we're not going to try to force her. We're not going to try to convince her to live with this man, and he divorces her right away. Mazutra says, even in a situation where she says, I'm not interested in living with this man, we're still going to try to persuade her. We're going to talk to her. We're going to give her this penalty. We're still going to try to force her to remain married to this person. Okay. Now, just to go back a second, when it says over here in the Gemara, like Kafinin law, so Rashi says that she could get divorced right away, but she's not going to get a Kesubah though. Even though she says, I'm not interested in being married to this man, she's not going to get a Kesubah. And there's a long Taisus here, and one of the things that Taisus explains is because we could always be concerned that maybe she just found another husband that she wants to marry, another man she wants to marry, and therefore we can't give her a Kesubah in such a situation. Just because she found someone else to marry, well, we're going to allow her to get divorced and give her a Kesubah. She's not going to get a Kesubah. That's one of the details that Taisus says. A big arichas over here. Taisus talks about this, that such a case we can't give her a Kesubah. Okay, the Gemara Mazutre, there's a story over here again.
She would have just asked for Kesubah and not been married, and she would have got her Kesubah.
What do you mean by asked for a Kesubah? A wife could never ask for a get. She does not have the ability to ask for a get. I mean, if the husband agrees to give her a get, good. If he doesn't agree to give her a get, she could ask him today till tomorrow. She's not going to get a get.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It's all in the husband's control. Okay, there's other details to that, but the pashtas.
At least Papa whipping.
Hava of there was a story. Va'achpa Marzutre. There was Marzutre dealt with this situation of a wife that did not want to stay with her husband, and Marzutre forced her and said, "No, stay married." She said she's not interested, but still Marzutre forced her. V'nafak minei, and then from this marriage, who came out? Rab Chanina Misura, the great Amayra Rab Chanina from Sura was born here. So we see that even a wife that says she's not interested in staying married, still, you should try to convince her and force her to stay married, you never know. But the Gemara says, V'loihi, there's no raya from that story, Hasam siyata d'shmaya hava. There was a special siyata d'shmaya, the Eibishter gave a special bracha that Rab Chanina was born. But usually, a wife that says that I'm not interested in being married to his husband, she gets divorced right away, she loses her Kesubah, but she can get divorced right away. The Gemara brings another story, Kal Seder Rav Zvid, the daughter-in-law of Rav Zvid, Imrida, she rebelled against her husband. Havet Fisa Chad Shira, she had a very expensive coat or very expensive garment that she brought into the marriage, and part of the dowry, part of the Kesubah she brought in, she had it with her. Yosef, Ameimer, Umarzutre, Vravashi. So these three Amiram were sitting together, and Yosef, Rav Gamde Gabayo, and there was a fourth one, Rav Gamde was sitting amongst them as well. So Yosvi v'Ka'amri, they were sitting and discussing this matter. They were aware about the story that happened with Rav Zvid's daughter-in-law, and they said, Marda, a wife that rebels against her husband, Hifsida Bloisea Kayamin. She also, when she gets divorced from him, she's going to lose her Kesubah, and she's also going to lose Bloisea. Bloisea is any of the clothing that she brought into the marriage. Bloisea literally means that they're worn out. That even if they're not in good condition anymore, whatever condition that they're in, it's evaluated, and she loses their value at the time of the divorce. Amalu Rav Gamde, when he heard that these Amiram paskin this way, so Rav Gamde says, you know why he's saying this? Because Rav Zvid is such a great person, and he has this issue with his daughter-in-law that has this expensive coat, and therefore machnafisula. You're saying this just as a chanifa to him. What's the word for chanifa in English?
Flattering.
You're flattering him. You want to paskin for his benefit that his daughter-in-law, which is rebelling against his son, should lose this expensive garment that she has here in the Kesubah. V'hamer Rav Kahana. But don't we know that Rav Kahana Mibai said, Mibai Rava v'loi pashit. Rava had a question about this, that a wife that's rebelling against the husband and there's expensive things that she brought into the Kesubah, does she lose this or not? And he didn't resolve the Sibaya, so why are you paskening this way? Gemara now gives a different version to the story. Iked Amri. Others say that all these Amirayim that were sitting here, Yasiv Amri, they sat and said that Marda, a wife that rebels against the husband, Lo Yivsida B'Lo Yisar Kayamin. She will lose her ksubah, but she will not lose any of those garments that she brought into the marriage. So Amalur Rav Gamda commented to these Amirayim that said this Psak Din, Yishum that Rav Zvid Gavre Rabahu, because Rav Zvid is such a great person. And here, according to this version, Rashi says what it means to say is that because Rav Zvid is such a big onab, he's so humble, and he's going to accept whatever psak you're going to give him. So therefore, you're paskening sort of against him, that his son has to lose this expensive garments that his wife brought into the marriage. Just because he's humble, don't take advantage of him and paskin against him. There's no reason to paskin this way because it's a suffix. Rav Kahana said, "Mi boy Rav had a question about this v'loy pashet, and he never resolved this." Okay, just to finish the point here, the Gemara says, we don't know what the halacha is regarding a meredes, a woman that rebels against her husband. What's with these clothing garments she brought into the marriage? Does she get it? Does she not? So the halacha is tafsa loy mafkinim. This is a case of a suffix regarding a money matter. It's a halacha of the suffix regarding a money matter is if she takes it with her, she grabs it for herself. We can't take it away from her. Loy tafsa, but if she does not grab it, it's not in her possession. So then loy avina lo. We're not going to give it to her.
Sort of like a motzei.
It's sort of connected to that subject. Taisus speaks about it over here. Take a look in Taisus.